Hi everyone, welcome back to Learn with Pooja. This is part 3 of Foundational Model and Generation page in RAG course. So here you can see we are going to walk through the code. Here, RAG, the foundation model in generation page during this page as we discussed earlier video is a read the retriever context and analyze the user question and generate response is grounded in the retrieval information. So the required packages you can see one is I'm working with like a different models like I have installed OpenAI, Anthropic, and this is like environment setup and HTTP host. So you can install those in the Google Colab if you are using a Google Colab and generating content using OpenAI API. So to utilize Open API key, you have to load set up the environment with Open API key. If you are using Anthropic key. If you are using Google API key. So these are like we can load the secrets like this by using a load dot environment. So dot env package and then load sample files. This notebook uses sample Word and PDF files. When you are running notebook on Google Colab or in your local, you have to load it to data sets. You can get it from my Git repo. So the next one is these are like getting the data sets. You can check it that. And now open AI chart completion. So this is the actual code to utilize Open API key and do the chart completion like a bot. So from OpenAPI, we are importing OpenAPI key and ask with context. Here, a function that ask a question using provided context and creating a OpenAPI client. Here you can see the OpenAPI client we are creating. Then build the message list for the chart completion. One is we are defining as we discussed earlier video about the prompt like a role content and instructions like whatever we require that you can system message setup behavior constants for the model and this tells the model to rely only on the given context and also you can see this is like for system role system and answer based on only on the provided context and another one is a role user. The model will read this information to generate the answer. So this is the message and this is the prompt we have created and send the message to OpenAPI chart completion API and sending that as a message here and using a GPT 4 mini model and the response you can get it like this by using a response extract and return the generated answer text and example you can see below context RAG stands for retrieval augmented generation, that is the context and question is what does RAG stands for. You can give the question and answer will give like this. Using hosted foundation models requires minimal setup like API key, HTTP client, and you are generating test. Choosing between providers matters when you have specific constraints around cost, context windows, and regularity requirements. OpenAI rate limits and throughput typically exceed competitors for high volume production deployment. Switch to Google or Anthropic when you need to longer context windows. Cheaper high volume inference or specific multimodal capabilities. GPT-5 handles complex reasoning, structure output, and tool use for latency sensitive workload where speed matters more than maximum reasoning depth. Consider GPT 4.1 or smaller variants like GPT 5 mini or GPT 4.1 optimized for low latency and high throughput, making it better for real time chart and customer support. Generating content using Google Gemini model. This is like a different model. Previously we used OpenAI models, now Google Gemini model. You want to use a Google Gemini model to generate and analyze text and image. Google aligned its API with the OpenAI client library conventions, so you can reuse the same SDK. You only change that URL so that the client sends request to Google generative language endpoint instead of OpenAPIs. So these are like a different variations here. See, December 2023, you can see the Gemini 1, Pro Nano, and Flash. 1.1 is a flash, and 2 is like a flashlight, and 2.5 is a Pro Flash and flashlight. So these are like a different uh, to use Gemini, you need an API key from Google AI Studio. Create a key with a few clicks and store it an environment variables named Google API key. The example below reads the key from this variable. The following code generates an API client that connects to Google instead of OpenAI. The structure is identical to using an OpenAI model. The only difference is the base URL defined when creating the client. OpenAI Whisper Speech Text. So here you can see that to determine the correct path. This is like a path. Those are like audio files, and then this is giving like a script of the audio. The state smell of older bill is there. So this is like a text you can see. It is giving like this. So the client we defined OpenAI client, here we have to pass the URL. Now generating content using the Anthropic AI. You want to use Anthropic Clad model to analyze content and generate text. The Anthropic provides a strong alternative to OpenAI and Google, especially when you need price reasoning, reliable coding support, or mathematical accurate outputs. Like we can use the Anthropic. So you can see that yearly different models how they have introduced in which year. To use the Anthropic AI, creates an account on the Anthropic website and generate a API key. You can generate the key in the Anthropic console under the API section. Purchasing a small amount of credit is required. $5 is usually enough to run the example in this notebook. Store the key as an environment variable name, Anthropic API key, so the Anthropic SDK can locate it. While Google provided a OpenAI compatible endpoint, Anthropic uses its own protocol which does not match what the OpenAPI SDK expects. Because of this, you need to use the Anthropic SDK. So Anthropic clad models, like there are like different models, you can get like client.models.list. So this is like one of the example code. Import the Anthropic client for interacting with cloud models. So this is from Anthropic import OS to access environment variables. So create an Anthropic client using the API key stored in a environment variable. This avoids hard coding secrets directly in the code. So send a message to the cloud model. You can see that the client.message.create and give the model name and token max tokens and give the prompt that is a user and a content. So this is the one of the example, and there are like a different cloud models. If you want, you can utilize. So what are the strengths and trade-offs? In practical, cloud models tends to produce longer and more detailed explanation, explicitly highlight ambiguous or missing information, avoid selecting a plausible answer when setting is low. This makes CLAD well suited for the task where conservative reasoning matters more than the speed. When to choose CLAD? CLAD models are strong choice when correctness and casual are critical, such as legal document review, complaints, and policy analysis, code generation that requires careful reasoning, complex mathematical problems, and multi-step logical reasoning tasks. CLAD extended reasoning behavior helps surface assumption and edge cases that faster model may glow uh, over. When not to use CLAD. CLAD is not ideal for every workload. Avoiding using CLAD, building high throughput chatbots with the simple queries, user expect near instant responses, or you need to the lowest possible latency for both processing. CLAD deliberate reasoning style trades speed for thoroughness, which can be unnecessary for straightforward task. CLAD model types, like there are like a different CLAD models which we have seen earlier. CLAD Anthropic offers CLAD models in multiple sites, following a structure similar to the other major provides. These are like a different models you can see. So, what is the key takeaway? Choose CLAD when explicit reasoning, ambiguity handling, and correctness matter more than the raw speed. For simple, high volume, or latency sensitive tasks, faster model families are usually a better fit. So these are like a two different models we discussed. In the next session, we can discuss other models, how we can run, how what are the pros and cons of the models.